Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Carol here at Aakash Journals, and this is the final part of the little mini series that I've been doing on an embroidered wreath journal. It's a fabric one, as you can see. So these are all my little embroideries, all done and dusted, and as you can see here, I've trimmed them all down to size, and I've gone round and marked a border on all of the embroideries and also on the cover as well. And what I do next is to turn them over and just hand crease that border all the way around. So I'm just going to speed up the recording for you here. And as you can see, I go in, use my bone folder, but once I've done an initial creasing on all of these borders, then I go in and give it a good old press on my iron, or with my iron on my ironing board, and I do trim away the excess in the corners. And of course I do exactly the same thing with the embroidery that I've chosen for my front cover. So this is what I'm showing you here. I've marked round a border, turned it in, given it a good press with my iron, and that's what it looks like on the right side. And these are all my little embroideries now that they're turned in and have had a good press. The next job was to cut a piece of bonder web the same size as each of the little embroideries and the one for the cover. So that's what I'm showing you there. And I adhere that to the back, and you can't see it, but trust me, it is there. And those are all ready to be adhered to my signatures. Now for my signatures, I've got two large pieces of fabric that I've folded across the top. And what I do is stitch down the left and right sides of each of those pieces of fabric and to create a pocket, and I also stitch along the bottom torn edge there about 1.5 inches on either side. It's the same construction principle for the cover, but you can see my piece of fabric there is much wider, and I don't actually create my cover until I've created my signatures, so that I know exactly how much fabric or cover to wrap around my signatures. So once I've done my signatures, then I go back and attend to creating the cover. So here I'm showing the stitching that I've done down each side and that 1.5 inches along the bottom. I don't need to stitch the top because that was folded over, and I've just left a little pocket or a little hole there. So now I've created these two little pockets, they're almost ready to turn it right sides out. Obviously I trim away the corners as you normally do with something like this, but I want to add a few pieces to the wrong side of those pockets, so the outside of those pockets. The first thing I do is cut a couple of pieces of bonder web, so that's what you're seeing here, and I use those to attach my batting or wadding to the outside or wrong side of each of those pockets. Now I only use thin wool batting here, and I only use a single piece because I don't want my edges to be too thick. So once that wadding is nicely adhered with the bonder web, I then turn my little pocket or signature pockets right side out. So this picture shows that I'm in the process of doing that and using a bone folder to push out my corners. These are my pockets turned right side out, and then I just go in with a needle and cotton and do some invisible stitching across the opening to close my signature pocket up. So these are my pages now popped inside each other as a signature. And normally what you would do is, if you were putting fabric pages or even paper pages in a journal, and if you were slotting them one inside the other, you would make the inner ones fractionally smaller than the one before it. I've only got 2 pages here. But I haven't done that with these. These were exactly measured out to the same size. And the reason for that is because I knew there was enough give in the fabric for me to press this outside one so that it would fit round the inside one. So that's what I've done there. And I'm pretty happy with the edge that I've got here, as you can see. I should mention, oh, got some bits there. Should mention that I've stitched across the bottom now, so the only job I've got left to do is to attach my little embroideries. Now, as you've seen, I've got the edges all turned, I've clipped the corners, and I've got Bonder web on the back. But I'm not just going to put these in place on my journal using the Bonder web. That is just so that I don't have to pin them, and it's also like a belt and braces. I'm going to go in now with some invisible embroidery thread, and I'm going to have a lovely job today putting these in order and stitching them onto each of the pages. Before I do that though, I can get on and make my cover. Now, I left that because I wasn't sure how thick this was going to be, so I didn't know what width I needed or what size I needed my cover to be. So as you can see, I've marked out an edge here, so I'm going to just flip that over. I've got plenty of fabric here, which isn't a problem because I will use that strip for hand embroidery. So what I'm thinking now that I have this, let me just put that there, pull it over a little bit. I'm thinking that I will have, let me move that over, just probably about ½ centimetre past my pages, top and bottom. So I now know that that will work if I do that. I don't want too much because obviously being a fabric journal and with nothing but batting inside here, the edges will take a little bit of wear if I'm not careful. So I'm thinking that if I just flip that over, is going to give me plenty. I'm not sure you can see that, but it should give me plenty. So how am I going to make my cover? Well, I'm going to make it in exactly the same way as I made my signatures. I've got a fold at the top just because I'm lazy and I had a big enough piece of fabric. I'm going to cut down here. I'm going to stitch both sides, both rough edges here, stitch both rough edges, and maybe about 1.5 inches, 2 inches across the bottom, Bonder web inside, and then put some batting. But this time I'm going to put some interfacing inside my cover just to give it a little bit more rigidity, or sturdiness, because they're nice. They're not floppy, they've got a nice sturdiness about them, but I want a little bit more sturdiness here. And I probably will put 2 layers of the batting inside as well. So the sandwich will be fabric, Bonder web, and then 2 layers of the batting, and then my interfacing in the middle. And I won't need to have any Bonder web to hold that in place. I can just slide that in between the batting, and the batting will be quite secure. So both sides of my cover will feel nice and squishy. I'll have some extra firmness in the middle with the lightweight interfacing, and everything will be held in place by the Bonder web. And then obviously I'll turn everything right sides out and finish along the bottom. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments and I'll explain that again. But there's no right or wrong way how you do your covers with a fabric journal. You do them whatever way suits you, and there are a lot of videos out on YouTube doing things in a different way. Some people use bubble wrap inside instead of batting. My batting is very, very thin. It's a natural wool batting, which is really lovely, but it's very thin, so that's why I'm going for 2 layers. If you had a thicker batting, then you might just want to use 1 layer. Entirely up to you. Okay, so I'm going to get on and do that and prep my cover, and then, as I mentioned, the rest of my day will be sewing these onto my signatures, and I'm hoping that my signature won't be too fat, so that I can just do a line of machine stitching through my signatures onto my cover. If not, I will have to hand stitch that and do something like a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. Okay, so I'll see you in a little while. And this is my finished journal. I have to say I'm quite pleased with it now that it's finished. I've now obviously done all the invisible stitching on here. I did toy with the idea of doing something like herringbone stitch all the way around this piece and all the embroideries inside with a neutral colour embroidery thread, but in the end I decided not to. I just went with some invisible stitching all the way around. The reason for that really was because I've got another project off to one side that I'm champing at the bit to get started on. Well, not get started on, do more on. So I'll do you a quick flip through and then I have a wee giveaway if anybody is interested. So let me just show you quickly what the finished journal looks like. You've seen all the embroideries, but you haven't seen them inside, stitched inside. Put these two opposite each other, turned one way and one the other because I thought that would be quite nice. These two I've put together. I tried to match them up so that they would go well. So these two are very similar with the ivy leaves and then these, I don't know, little beech leaves or blackberry bramble leaves. They're very similar in design. These two I've popped together because of the red. I thought that worked quite well together. Managed to get this under my machine, which was a miracle really, because this is quite thick, but it was just thin enough for me to get under my machine zipper foot. These two, I put them together because of the colour tones, think they work quite well. And then finally this with this little one. You will notice though that this one hasn't made the cut. It was just too different from all the other embroideries, so I've left it out. So there we go, that's that little journal all done and dusted. And as for the giveaway, well, these are the pieces that didn't make my journal. This one I'm not offering up as a giveaway. It's got a little bit of sentimental value for me. Whilst I was in Australia and travelling from east to west on the Indian Pacific train, I was stitching this and looking out the window at the amazing country as it went past. So I'm keeping this one. What I do with it, I don't know. I might just frame it up or actually make it an elongated postcard and pop it inside another journal. So this one I'm not giving away, I'm keeping that one. But this one and this one I'm giving away as two separate giveaways. This one has a slight mark down here, so I'm going to put this one with it. So this will be one giveaway if anybody is interested in it, and this is another one. So if you are interested in this one or these two, then it's a case of first come first serve. Just email me. My email address is in the description box below the video, and as I say, it's first come first serve. Say which one you prefer and I will happily send them out to you. So as always everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing this journal come together. I hope if you've watched all the little wreath embroideries that I did, very, very simple ones while watching the television at night since the beginning of the year, but hope you enjoyed seeing those come together. And until the next video, everybody, take care. Bye-bye from me. Bye-bye now.